The first week at the academy was brutal. Every morning began at what the station called dawn, though there was no real sunrise in space. The recruits assembled in the main training hall at 0600 hours for physical conditioning. Hana quickly learned that Velthar's mockery during orientation had not been a one-time event. It was constant. "Faster, humans," he would shout during endurance runs.
"My hatchlings move quicker than you, and they're still in their eggs."
The runs took place on a track that circled the station's outer ring. The heavier gravity made every step harder, and Hana could feel the burn in her legs after just the first lap. But she kept pace with the other species, refusing to fall behind. Day ran beside her, his breathing heavy but steady. Around them, the other recruits moved with varying degrees of ease. The Vraxians, members of Velthar's own species, seemed barely winded. The crystalline Lithans didn't appear to breathe at all. The gaseous arids simply floated along the track. "Humans are persistence hunters," Hana muttered to herself, repeating the mantra that had gotten her through basic training on Earth. "We were built for this." After the runs came strength assessments. The recruits lined up to demonstrate their lifting capacity using standardized weights measured in galactic units. Hana watched as a Vraxian recruit easily hoisted a weight marked 300 units above his head. When her turn came, she approached the 200-unit weight. It was heavy, much heavier than anything she had lifted in Earth gravity. She bent her knees, gripped the handles, and pulled. The weight rose slowly, shakily, until she had it at chest height. 200 units, the assessment computer announced in a flat voice. Velthar, who had been watching from the side, laughed loudly. 200. "My hatchlings could lift more, and they're barely conscious." Several alien recruits chuckled. Hana set the weight down carefully and stepped back, her face burning with embarrassment and anger. "This is what I mean," Velthar announced to everyone. "Humans are simply inferior. Their biology cannot compete with real warriors. Perhaps the council should assign them to maintenance duties instead of combat roles." That afternoon, Velthar implemented a new rule. All human recruits had to carry additional weight during training exercises. "To compensate for your species' inadequacy," he explained with that cruel smile. "If you want to keep up with real soldiers, you need to work harder." So Hana and the other humans strapped on weighted vests and continued their training. The extra burden made everything more difficult, but Hana refused to complain. She noticed that some of the alien recruits watched them with what looked like sympathy. But none spoke up against Velthar. During a break between exercises, a Lithan recruit approached Hana. The crystalline being's name was Crystal, and she communicated through vibrations that a translator device converted to speech. "I am impressed by human endurance," Crystal said quietly. "You do not quit even when treated unfairly." Hana managed a tired smile. "Thanks. We're tougher than we look." "I am beginning to understand this," Crystal replied before moving away. The mockery continued throughout the second week. During combat simulations, Velthar would pause the exercises to point out every mistake a human made. "See how the human telegraphs her moves? Slow and predictable." In real combat, she would be dead in seconds. During tactical briefings, he would ask humans questions designed to make them look stupid. "Tell me, human, what is the standard defensive formation for void combat?" he asked one recruit. The young man stammered and gave an answer that was technically correct but phrased awkwardly. Velthar sighed dramatically. "Wrong terminology, wrong emphasis, wrong everything. This is why humans should not be here. They lack even basic knowledge." By the third week, Hana had heard every variation of insult Velthar could think of. Humans were weak. Humans were slow. Humans were stupid. Humans came from a pathetic world with no real dangers. That last one particularly irritated her. During one training session, Velthar was explaining the different types of hostile environments recruits might face in the field. "Of course, those of you from harsh worlds will adapt more easily," he said. "Vraxians evolved on a planet with extreme temperature variations. Lithans formed in the crushing pressure of gas giant atmospheres. And humans," he paused for effect, "humans evolved on a weak, gentle world where water falls from the sky like a blessing." "Actually, sir," Hana spoke up before she could stop herself, "Earth is classified as a high-gravity death world by galactic standards." The hall went silent. Velthar turned slowly to look at her. "Death world," he repeated, his voice full of mockery. "Your planet has rain. Rain. Water that falls from the sky to nourish your crops and fill your rivers. You call that dangerous? It's not just the rain, sir, Hana said, knowing she should stop talking but unable to help herself. Earth has high gravity, aggressive microbiology, extreme weather patterns, and a long list of predators that evolved alongside us. Velthar walked toward her, and Hana had to resist the urge to step back. Predators, he said, drawing out the word. Yes, I've read about Earth's predators. Large cats. Interesting, I suppose, for a primitive world, but hardly dangerous compared to real threats. Sir, humans are apex predators on our own world, Hana replied. We didn't just survive alongside other predators. We outcompeted them. For a moment, something flickered in Velthar's eyes. Uncertainty, perhaps, or curiosity, but it vanished quickly, replaced by his usual contempt. Big words from such a small species, he said. But words mean nothing here. Only strength matters. Only capability. And humans have neither. That evening, Day found Hana in the training room working through combat forms alone. You need to stop engaging with him, Day said. Every time you talk back, he just gets worse. I know, Hana admitted, throwing a punch at an imaginary opponent. But I'm tired of listening to his garbage. We all are. But getting angry won't help. Hana stopped and turned to her friend. I'm not just angry, Day. I'm ready to prove him wrong. I'm ready to show him exactly what a human can do. Day studied her face for a long moment. Don't do anything stupid. I won't, Hana promised. But if the opportunity comes to shut him up, I'm taking it. Just be careful. He's a lot bigger than you, Hana smiled grimly. Size isn't everything. She went back to her forms, each punch and kick sharp and precise. Velthar thought humans were weak. He thought they were inferior. He was wrong. And soon, very soon, she was going to prove it. The next morning, the entire academy was called to assembly in the main hall. Hana stood with the other human recruits, very aware of the stares and whispers from the alien students around them. Some looked curious. Others looked wary. A few looked hostile. Director Whisper materialized at the center of the hall, their gaseous forms swirling with colors that seemed to reflect their mood. The enormous chamber fell silent as every recruit turned their attention to the director. Yesterday, an incident occurred during combat training, Whisper began, their voice resonating through the space. Instructor Velthar was injured during a demonstration with a human recruit. Some of you witnessed this event. All of you have heard about it by now. Murmurs rippled through the assembled students. Hana kept her eyes forward, her expression neutral. There are lessons to be learned from what happened, Whisper continued. Lessons that go beyond simple combat technique. Today, I will share information that some of you may find surprising. Information about the species you have been so quick to dismiss as weak. A holographic display activated above the director's form, showing an image of Earth rotating slowly in space. This is Earth, Whisper said. Homeworld of humanity. How many of you know the classification of this planet? Silence. Then tentatively a Vraxian recruit raised their hand. A garden world, Director? It has abundant water and vegetation. Incorrect, Whisper replied. Earth is classified as a Class 7 death world. High gravity, aggressive microbiology, extreme weather patterns, and an ecosystem filled with predatory species. The holographic display shifted, showing Earth statistics. Hana watched as numbers appeared next to each data point, comparing Earth to galactic standards. Earth's gravity is 1.0 on the local scale, Whisper explained. The standard galactic gravity, which we use on this station, is 1.4 Earth gravity. This means that for you, the conditions here are slightly heavier than your homeworlds. For humans, these conditions are actually 40% lighter than what they evolved in. Shocked whispers spread through the hall. Hana saw several recruits turn to look at the humans with new understanding. Furthermore, Whisper continued, Earth's atmosphere contains 21% oxygen. This is unusually high by galactic standards. Most species breathe atmosphere with 12 to 15% oxygen. This oxygen-rich environment gives humans exceptional stamina and endurance. The display changed again, showing a human figure running alongside figures from other species. Humans evolved as persistence predators, Whisper said. Before they developed advanced tools, they hunted by chasing prey for hours or even days, until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. They cannot run as fast as many species, but they can run for longer than almost anything else in the galaxy. A Lithan recruit, not Crystal but another crystalline being, spoke up. But Director, they seem so fragile. Their skin is soft, easily damaged. An accurate observation, Whisper agreed. Human skin is indeed less protective than scales or crystal shells. However, let me show you something else. The hologram displayed a comparison of bone structures from different species. Human bone density is approximately 40% higher than the galactic average. Their skeletal system evolved to support their body weight and high gravity. This means their bones are significantly stronger than they appear. More data appeared, charts showing human muscle composition, healing rates, and adrenaline response. Humans possess a unique biochemical response to danger called the adrenaline rush, Whisper explained. When threatened, their bodies release hormones that temporarily increase strength, speed reaction time, and suppress pain. This survival mechanism allowed them to fight predators much larger and stronger than themselves. Hana noticed that many of the alien recruits were now staring at the human group with expressions that had shifted from contempt to something closer to concern. I share this information, not to frighten you, Whisper said, but to correct dangerous misconceptions. Instructor Velthar made assumptions based on appearance rather than fact. He believed humans were weak because they looked weak. This error in judgment cost him his position as an instructor. The director's form pulsed with what might have been emphasis. In military service, such errors can cost lives. Your lives and the lives of those you serve alongside. You must learn to assess capabilities accurately, not based on prejudice or assumption. Commander Yuna Lee stepped forward to stand beside Director Whisper. I have an announcement, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the hall. The human training program has been a trial run, a test to see if Earth's military personnel could integrate with galactic forces. Based on the performance of our recruits over the past 3 weeks, I can confirm that the test has been successful. She paused, looking over the assembled students. Every human recruit currently at this academy has completed your endurance runs, strength assessments, and tactical evaluations while carrying additional weight that was not assigned to other species. They did this without complaint, without failure, and without falling behind. Hana felt a surge of pride, not just for herself but for all the human recruits who had endured Velthar's mockery and extra requirements. Furthermore, Lee continued, several human recruits have scored in the top percentiles of their respective categories, in endurance, strategic thinking, and now, as demonstrated yesterday, in combat capability. The commander's expression hardened. Let me be clear to everyone here. Humans are not weak. We are not inferior. We earned our place at this academy through merit, just like every other species here. Anyone who believes otherwise is welcome to a training demonstration. I assure you we have more recruits like Hana Kim. Director Whisper's form brightened. Well said, Commander. Now all recruits are dismissed to your training schedules. We have a new combat instructor arriving this afternoon, who will continue the hand-to-hand training program. As the assembly broke up, Hana found herself surrounded by other recruits. Some wanted to apologize for laughing at Velthar's jokes. Others wanted to know more about Earth and human capabilities. A few simply wanted to see the hand that had knocked out Avraxian. Crystal approached, her crystalline body chiming softly. I told you I was impressed by human endurance, she said. Now I understand why. Your people are remarkable. Thanks, Hana replied. But we're not that special. We just evolved in a tough environment. That is what makes you special, Crystal insisted. Most species in the galaxy evolved on gentle worlds. We have technology and civilization because our planets allowed it. Your species developed intelligence and cooperation because you needed it to survive. That makes you formidable. Day joined them, grinning widely. Did you see their faces when they learned Earth is a death world? I thought some of them were going to pass out. I noticed, Hana said with a small smile. The best part, Day continued, is that they still don't know the half of it. Wait until they learn about human history, about how we used to hunt mammoths with wooden spears, about how we survived ice ages and plagues and wars that killed millions. Crystal made a sound like breaking glass. Your species survived ice ages? Multiple ones, Day confirmed cheerfully. Humans are really good at not dying. That afternoon, training resumed with a new instructor, a calm professional Lithan named Shard who treated all species with equal respect. The difference was immediately noticeable. No mockery, no extra requirements for humans, just solid instruction in combat techniques. During a break, Hana overheard 2 Vraxian recruits talking. I heard Velthar's jaw is wired shut, one said. He'll be eating liquid food for weeks. Serves him right, the other replied. He was always so arrogant about our species being superior. Turns out humans can hit like a plasma cannon. I'm just glad I never laughed when he made fun of them. Can you imagine if she'd decided to punch me instead? Hana smiled to herself and continued her exercises. The academy was learning. Slowly, painfully, but learning nonetheless. That evening, Commander Lee called Hana to her office again. I wanted to update you, Lee said. Velthar has filed a formal complaint claiming excessive force. The Academy Board reviewed it and dismissed it within an hour. The footage clearly shows he initiated the engagement and authorized full contact. Thank you for letting me know, ma'am. There's something else, Lee continued. Director Whisper has asked if you'd be willing to co-teach a session on human combat techniques. Show the other recruits how Earth's martial arts work. Hana blinked in surprise. They want me to teach? Only if you're comfortable with it. It would be voluntary and Instructor Shard would supervise. I'll do it, Hana said without hesitation. When? Next week. They want to give the other recruits time to process what they learned today. As Hana left the office, she realized something had fundamentally changed. 3 weeks ago, she had arrived at this station feeling like an outsider, a member of a species that didn't quite belong. Now, she was being asked to teach. To share human knowledge with alien students. To prove that Earth had something valuable to contribute to the galactic community. Velthar had mocked human strength and paid the price. But more importantly, his mockery had created an opportunity. An opportunity to show the galaxy what humanity was really capable of, and Hana intended to make the most of it. The transport ship descended toward orbital station Theta 7, and Hana Kim pressed her face against the small window to get a better view. The massive station spun slowly in the darkness of space, its metal surface gleaming under the light of a distant star. She had dreamed of this moment for 3 years, ever since Earth joined the Galactic Council and opened its doors to the rest of the universe. First time seeing it? Dave Park asked from the seat beside her. His voice carried a mix of excitement and nervousness that Hana recognized because she felt it too. Yeah, Hana replied, unable to hide her smile. It's bigger than I expected, Day laughed. Everything out here is bigger than expected. We're the new kids, remember? The Galactic Defense Academy was the most prestigious military training facility in known space. For 15 years since first contact, humans had been the junior members of the galactic community. They watched, learned, and slowly earned their place among the stars. Now, 50 humans had been selected for the Academy's newest class. Hana and Day were 2 of them. The ship docked with a metallic clang that echoed through the hull. Hana grabbed her small bag and followed the other human recruits through the airlock. The moment she stepped into the station, she felt the difference. The gravity was heavier, pulling at her limbs and making each step require more effort. Standard galactic gravity, someone muttered behind her. 1.4 times Earth normal. Hana adjusted quickly. She had trained for this. They all had. What she wasn't prepared for was the sight of the other recruits already assembled in the main hall. There were hundreds of them. Tall creatures with scales that shimmered like oil on water. Beings made entirely of crystal that reflected the station's lights in rainbow patterns, floating masses of gas contained within shimmering force fields, and more species she couldn't even begin to identify. The humans clustered together instinctively, suddenly very aware of how small and plain they looked compared to the other species. Hana stood at 5 feet 6 inches, average for a human woman, but here, surrounded by aliens who towered over her or sparkled with inner light, she felt almost invisible. Attention! A voice boomed across the hall. Everyone turned. A massive reptilian creature strode to the center of the room. He stood at least 8 feet tall with dark green scales covering his body and rows of sharp teeth visible when he spoke. His eyes were yellow with vertical slits for pupils, and they swept across the assembled recruits with clear disdain. I am Instructor Velthar, he announced. For the next 6 months I will be your combat trainer. Some of you may survive the training, many will not. His gaze landed on the group of humans, and his mouth curved into what might have been a smile. It wasn't friendly. And I see we have humans this year, Velthar said, his voice dripping with mockery. How wonderful. The Council in their infinite wisdom has decided to allow fragile primitives into our ranks. Hana felt her jaw tighten. Beside her, Day shifted uncomfortably. Humans, Velthar continued, walking closer to their group. A species so new to the stars that they still use chemical rockets. So weak that they break bones from simple falls, so soft that their own planet's predators can kill them. A few of the alien recruits laughed. Hana noticed that some stayed silent, watching with what might have been sympathy or curiosity. "Tell me," Velthar said, stopping directly in front of Hana. "Why did the council even allow your kind here? What possible use could you be?" Hana met his yellow eyes without flinching. She had dealt with bullies before. During her 8 years in Earth's military, she had faced down men who thought women didn't belong in combat. She had proven them wrong then. She could do it again now. "Permission to speak, Instructor," Hana said calmly. Velthar laughed. "Oh, the little human wants to speak. How adorable." "Yes, go ahead." "We're here because we qualified, sir," Hana replied. "Same as everyone else." "Qualified," Velthar repeated as if the word amused him. "You passed some test designed for your limited capabilities. That doesn't mean you belong here with real warriors." He turned away from her to address the entire hall again. "Humans evolved on a weak world," he announced. "A planet so gentle that water falls from the sky. Where the most dangerous predator is what? A large cat? They have soft skin, weak bones, and pathetic strength. They are biologically inferior to every species in this room." Hana wanted to correct him. She wanted to explain that Earth wasn't weak at all, that humans had evolved to run down prey for hours until it collapsed from exhaustion, that Earth's gravity was higher than most inhabited worlds in the galaxy, that human bone density was far greater than he realized. But she stayed silent. Getting into an argument on the first day would only make things worse. She had learned that lesson long ago. "Over the next 6 months we will see who truly belongs here," Velthar said. "We will push you beyond your limits. We will break the weak and forge the strong, and I expect that by the end, we will have far fewer humans than we started with." The orientation continued for another hour. They learned about the station's layout, the training schedule, and the rules they had to follow. Through it all, Velthar made sure to include small jabs at the human recruits. Comments about their weakness, their inexperience, their inadequacy. When it finally ended, the recruits were dismissed to find their quarters. Hana walked beside Day through the corridors, both of them silent. "That guy is a real piece of work," Day finally said once they were alone. "Yeah," Hana agreed. "Are you going to report him? That kind of treatment has to violate some kind of regulation." Hana shook her head. "No, reporting him won't change anything. It'll just make us look weak." "So what are we going to do?" Hana stopped and turned to face her friend. "We're going to prove him wrong. We're going to work harder than everyone else. We're going to show them that humans belong here." Day grinned. "I was hoping you'd say that." They found their assigned quarters small but functional. Hana lay on her bunk that night, staring at the ceiling and thinking about Velthar's words. He thought humans were weak. He thought they didn't belong. She smiled in the darkness. He had no idea what humans were capable of. But he was going to learn. The Academy was about to discover that underestimating humanity was a serious mistake. And Hana was going to enjoy teaching them that lesson. The third week of training began with an announcement that made Hana's pulse quicken. Hand-to-hand combat instruction would start that morning. After weeks of endurance training, strength assessments, and tactical briefings, they would finally learn actual fighting techniques. Velthar stood in the center of the combat training hall, which was larger than the other spaces and had padded floors marked with training circles. The recruits assembled around him in a loose formation, watching carefully. "Combat is the foundation of all military skill," Velthar announced. "You may have advanced weapons and sophisticated technology, but there will be times when you must rely on your own body as a weapon. Today we begin learning how to use that weapon properly." He called forward a Vraxian recruit, another member of his own species. The recruit stepped onto the training mat, and Velthar demonstrated several techniques. Strikes, blocks, throws, and grappling moves. Each demonstration showed the raw power of Vraxian physiology. When Velthar threw his volunteer, the recruit hit the mat hard enough to make a sound like thunder. "These are basic techniques," Velthar explained, "suitable for species with proper strength and durability. For weaker species, modifications will be necessary." His eyes swept across the assembled recruits and landed, as they always did, on the humans. "I need a volunteer," Velthar said. "Someone to demonstrate proper defensive stance for those who lack natural advantages." Hana felt her heart hammering in her chest. This was it. This was the opportunity she had been waiting for. Before anyone else could move, before Day could grab her arm and stop her, she stepped forward. "I volunteer, sir." Velthar's expression shifted to something that looked like genuine pleasure. "Perfect. The female human, even more fragile than the males of your species. Hana walked onto the mat, her mind already calculating angles and distances. She had 8 years of military combat training. She had studied boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, and Krav Maga. She had fought men larger and stronger than her and won. But Velthar wasn't a man. He was an 8-foot-tall alien with scales like armor and muscles that could probably crush steel. Still, physics was physics. Leverage was leverage. And everyone, no matter how big or strong, had weak points. "Class, observe carefully," Velthar said to the assembled recruits. "I will show you how to fight opponents with inferior bone density and muscle structure. These techniques can be applied when facing any weak species." He looked down at Hana with that perpetual smirk. "Don't worry, human. I'll be gentle. I wouldn't want to break you on the first tap." "Will this be a full demonstration, Instructor?" Hana asked, keeping her voice level and professional. "Of course," Velthar replied. "How else will the class learn proper technique? And full contact is authorized?" Something flickered in Velthar's eyes. Suspicion, maybe, but his arrogance was too strong to resist the opportunity to humiliate a human in front of everyone. "Yes," he said, "full contact. Though again, I'll moderate my strength. Can't have our fragile human getting hurt." Hana nodded and took a step back, giving herself room. She didn't assume a defensive stance like Velthar expected. Instead, she shifted into an orthodox boxing stance. Left foot forward, right foot back, hands up, chin tucked. Velthar actually laughed. "Oh, the little human wants to attack?" he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "How adorable. This will be entertaining." The other recruits had formed a circle around the mat. Hana could see Day's worried face in the crowd. But she also saw something else there. Trust. He knew what she was capable of, even if nobody else did. "Try not to cry," Velthar said, assuming his own combat stance. "I hear human females are especially emotional. It would be embarrassing for your species if you broke down in tears." Hana said nothing. She controlled her breathing, staying loose and ready. She had learned long ago that anger was useless in a fight. All that mattered was focus, timing, and technique. Velthar made the first move. A lazy, arrogant swipe with his right hand meant to intimidate more than harm. Hana shifted her weight and stepped to the side. The strike passed through empty air. For just a moment, Velthar's smirk faltered. The human was faster than he had expected. He adjusted, coming at her with more serious intent. A straight punch aimed at her center mass. Hana slipped to the outside, letting the strike pass by her shoulder and countered with a quick jab to his ribs. Her fist connected with his scaled torso. It wasn't a power shot, just a rangefinder, but Velthar actually felt it. His eyes widened slightly. "You have some technique," he admitted, circling now with more caution. "How quaint. But technique without strength is just—" He didn't get to finish the sentence. Velthar threw a combination. A jab, cross, and hook designed to overwhelm her defenses. Hana had seen it coming. The combination was textbook, predictable. She blocked the jab, slipped the cross, and ducked under the hook, and then she stepped inside his guard. This was the moment. This was what all those years of training had prepared her for. Fighting someone bigger, stronger, and more dangerous than her. It wasn't about matching their strength. It was about being smarter, faster, and more precise. Hana planted her left foot, rotated her hips, and threw everything she had into a right cross aimed at Velthar's jaw. Time seemed to slow down. She felt the connection, felt her fist impact the soft tissue just below his jawbone where the scales were thinnest. She felt the shock travel up her arm as the full force of her punch, backed by her body weight, her rotation, and Earth's high-gravity conditioning, transferred into his head. The sound echoed through the training hall. A sharp, brutal crack that made everyone flinch. Velthar's head snapped to the side. His yellow eyes rolled back. His legs, those powerful legs that had carried his 300-pound body with such confidence, simply stopped working. The Vraxian instructor dropped like a puppet with cut strings. He hit the mat face first and didn't move. Absolute silence filled the training hall. Hana stood over him, shaking out her right hand. Her knuckles hurt, but nothing felt broken. She had hit harder targets in training. Every alien recruit stared at her with expressions ranging from shock to disbelief. Day's mouth hung open, but she could see the grin starting to form at the corners of his lips. Crystal, the Lithan who had spoken to Hana before, made a sound like wind chimes in a storm. Hana looked down at the unconscious Velthar, then addressed the assembled class. "On Earth," she said calmly, "this is what we call talking shit and finding out. Medical drones were already rushing toward the mat, their scanners beeping urgently as they examined the fallen instructor. Hana stepped off the mat, her heart still racing but her expression calm. She had done exactly what she meant to do. No more, no less. As she walked past Day, he whispered, "You actually did it. You knocked him out." "He authorized full contact," Hana replied quietly. "I just gave him what he asked for." She could feel every eye in the room on her as she returned to her position with the other human recruits. The mockery had stopped. The laughter had died. The humans were no longer invisible, and the Academy was about to learn a very important lesson about underestimating Earth's children. The medical drones worked quickly, their mechanical arms extending scanners and injectors as they surrounded Velthar's unconscious body. Hana watched from her position with the other human recruits, her hand still tingling from the impact. "Severe cranial trauma detected," one drone announced in a clinical voice. "Fractured mandible. Grade 3 concussion. Initiating emergency protocols." More drones arrived, bringing a medical stretcher that hovered above the ground. They carefully rolled Velthar onto it, his large body limp and unresponsive. As they carried him away, Hana noticed his jaw was swelling, already turning a darker shade of green. The training hall remained silent. None of the recruits seemed to know what to do or say. They simply stared at Hana like she had transformed into something they didn't recognize. A voice cut through the silence. "Recruit Kim, come with me." Hana turned to see a human woman in an officer's uniform standing at the entrance to the hall. Commander Yuna Lee, one of the senior officers overseeing the human training program. Her expression was neutral, revealing nothing. "Yes, ma'am," Hana replied, falling into step behind the commander. They walked through the station's corridors in silence. Hana's mind raced through possible scenarios. Would she be expelled? Court-martialed? She had acted within the rules Velthar himself had set, but she had also knocked out a superior officer. Commander Lee led her to a small office and gestured for Hana to sit. The commander remained standing, her arms crossed. "Do you know what you've just done?" Lee asked. "I participated in a training demonstration as ordered, ma'am," Hana replied carefully. "You knocked out Instructor Velthar with a single punch. He authorized full contact, ma'am. I responded appropriately to the training parameters he established." Commander Lee's expression didn't change, but Hana thought she saw something in the woman's eyes. Not anger, something else. "Satisfaction, maybe? The Academy officials are reviewing the footage now," Lee said. "They're trying to determine if you violated any regulations." "Did I, ma'am?" "No," Lee replied. "Velthar initiated the demonstration. He authorized full contact. He assumed a combat stance and engaged with you as an opponent. By every regulation in the Academy handbook, you acted within acceptable parameters." Hana felt some of the tension leave her shoulders. "However," Lee continued, "you did just hospitalize a ranking instructor on your 3rd week of training. That's going to create complications." "I understand, ma'am." Lee finally sat down across from Hana. "Tell me what happened. Not the physical actions. I saw those on the footage. Tell me what you were thinking." Hana took a breath and organized her thoughts. "Instructor Velthar has spent 3 weeks mocking human recruits, ma'am, calling us weak, inferior, and unsuitable for military service. He's made training harder for us specifically, adding extra weight and extra requirements that no other species has to meet." "And that made you angry?" "Yes, ma'am. But I didn't hit him because I was angry. I hit him because he challenged me to a combat demonstration and left himself open. I saw an opportunity to prove that his assumptions about humans were wrong, and I took it." Commander Lee studied Hana's face for a long moment. "You're trained in combat, aren't you? More than basic military hand-to-hand." "Yes, ma'am. 8 years in Earth military, including 3 years as a combat instructor. I've studied multiple martial arts disciplines." "And you knew that punch would knock him out?" Hana hesitated, then decided on honesty. "I knew it would hurt him, ma'am. Whether it would knock him out depended on factors I couldn't control." "But yes, I thought it might." Lee nodded slowly. "Academy Director Whisper wants to see you. An arid, very old, very wise. Be honest with them like you've been with me." "Yes, ma'am." "And Hana?" Lee's expression softened slightly. "Off the record, well done. Velthar has been treating human recruits like garbage since we arrived. Someone needed to remind him that we're here because we earned it." The meeting with Director Whisper happened an hour later, in a chamber filled with swirling mist. The Arid was a being of gas and energy contained within a shimmering field, and their voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Recruit Hana Kim," the director said. "You have caused quite a disturbance today." "Yes, Director. I apologize for any disruption to Academy operations." "Do you apologize for striking Instructor Velthar?" Hana considered the question carefully. "No, Director. He challenged me to demonstrate combat technique with full contact authorized. I responded with appropriate force." The mist that was Director Whisper swirled faster. "Appropriate force. An interesting phrase. You fractured his jaw and gave him a severe concussion. He's approximately 300 pounds of muscle and scales, Director. I'm a 130-pound human. I used the force necessary to achieve a decisive result." "And what result was that?" "To demonstrate that human capability exceeds his assumptions, Director." The mist seemed to pulse with what might have been amusement. "I see. Tell me, Recruit Kim, what do you know about why humans were selected for this academy?" The question surprised Hana. "We qualified through the standard testing process, Director." "That is true. But do you know why the Council decided to include humans in the first place?" "No, Director." "Because your species intrigued us," Whisper replied. "Earth is classified as a high-gravity death world. Your atmosphere is oxygen-rich to a degree that would be toxic to many species. You evolved as persistence predators, capable of pursuing prey for hours or even days. Your bone density is 40% higher than galactic average, and yet you are relatively small and appear fragile." Hana listened, her mind racing to understand where this was going. "We wanted to see how humans would respond to training alongside species that appear superior." Whisper continued. "Would you break under pressure? Would you give up when faced with mockery and discrimination? Or would you prove that appearances can be deceiving?" "You were testing us," Hana said, understanding dawning. "Testing all of you," Whisper confirmed. "The human recruits were briefed that you might face verbal abuse as part of a psychological evaluation. What we didn't tell you was that we were also testing the instructors, to see if they could recognize capability beyond their prejudices. And Velthar failed that test. Spectacularly," Whisper agreed. He allowed his arrogance to blind him to the truth. That Earth's gravity is stronger than our standard. That human endurance exceeds most species. That your combat techniques have been refined through millennia of warfare. He saw weakness where he should have seen danger. The director's form shifted, moving closer to Hana. "Your response to his challenge was within regulations. More importantly, it was a perfect demonstration of why humans were selected for this program. You adapted to our environment, endured prejudice, and proved your capability when given the opportunity. This is exactly what we hoped to see. So I'm not being expelled?" "Expelled?" "No, Velthar is being reassigned. His failure to properly assess an opponent's capabilities makes him unsuitable as a combat instructor. You, however, will continue your training." Relief flooded through Hana, but she kept her expression neutral. "Thank you, Director." "Do not thank me yet," Whisper said. "The other recruits now know that humans are more dangerous than they appear. Some will respect this, others will fear it, and a few will see it as a challenge. Your life here has become more complicated, not less." "I understand. Director?" "Good. You are dismissed, Recruit Kim. And for what it's worth, that was an excellent punch." Hana returned to find the other human recruits waiting for her in the common area. The moment she entered, Day jumped up. "Are you okay?" "What happened?" "I'm fine," Hana replied. "No punishment. Felthar's being reassigned." Cheers erupted from the humans. Someone clapped Hana on the shoulder. Another recruit asked her to demonstrate the punch that had dropped the Vraxian instructor. But Hana's mind was elsewhere. She thought about what Director Whisper had said. About being tested, about proving human capability, about the complicated road ahead. She had wanted to prove Velthar wrong, and she had succeeded. But now came the harder part, living with the consequences of that victory.